Well, happy Victober, everyone. I am joined today on my channel with Kate Howe. She's one of the co-hosts of Victober this year. And I'm not sure, Kate, if you were you one of the founders or did you come in
I did
later?
not come up with the idea. It's the brainchild of Katie from Books and Things, but I have
Hmm.
been a co-host each year, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So this being the 10-year anniversary of Victober, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Victober this year?
An 11.
An 11. Okay. I I am
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Considering we're filming this in August, I mean this counts as me getting ahead, which is never happens. So
It's just it's gonna be your best Victober yet. I can
I
sense it. You're already prepping in August.
yep, yep. I'm actually and I'm already reading some Victorian stuff this month also. So
Mhm.
I just why wait, right?
Truly, it is. I mean, I think for many people since Victober began, it's just a way of life now.
I guess just a little bit of background to what these videos will be. Um, I invited Kate on to talk about a little known or Victorian writer, or maybe a Victorian writer that gets overlooked a lot. We read the Brontes and Dickens, and I'm gonna look on my shirt to cheat here. Let's see, Eliot and Collins and Gaskell and all that. Those are probably the big names of Victorian literature. I have read a lot of those. Many of the authors like that we consider, when we think of Victorian literature, I've read, and I am not opposed to rereading. I love rereading, but I'm wanting to expand my horizon because I know there's more out there. So I'm bringing in the experts this month to widen my horizon here as to who I should be looking for next and where to begin in their work. So when I thought of this idea, Kate, you were the first one that came to mind, and I already had an author in mind, and you had the same author picked out. And that just goes to show how much you've been promoting your author today. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who you've picked, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Well, Art, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. And all the authors listed on your shirt, those deserve a spot on that shirt. They're also just very rereadable. So
Mm.
I'm not really sad when I finish their catalog because I know I can come back and get something new each time out of one of their books.
Hmm.
But I am delighted to be talking about Charlotte Mary Yonge. So she was a very well-known author in the Victorian era, and even her book, The Heir of Radcliffe, it outsold Thackeray and Dickens, whichever ones
Mm.
they published that year, it outsold them. So she was very well known at the time, but over time, I think some of the themes in her books, modern society kind of doesn't know what to make of them. And so she has kind of been a bit forgotten. I'd
Mm.
say that she has a real kind of gentleness and a very in-depth look at the interior lives of her characters. So I think it kind of for those readers that the books that I think of to recommend if you like this, they're more modern books. So kind of D.E. Stevenson or Elizabeth Goudge, the kind of like British modern classics.
Hmm.
That's where I think some parallels are. But also I do think Louisa May Alcott, there's some similarities to be found there. And so if you enjoy getting to know kind of the innermost thoughts of characters that you read about, you want to intimately know them, Charlotte Mary Yonge has got you covered. And you feel it, particularly in her novels of family life, that's kind of the category they would be.
Hmm.
You feel like you have become a house guest and you're sitting there and you're hearing these conversations with family members. And, if you are sitting in a room with a big family, the conversations don't take place where one person they say what they're going to say and then they stop and then everyone else waits. no one interrupts each other. There's kind of this lovely chaos that happens when there's a big group of people. And I think the closest parallel I've seen is the Greta Gerwig Little Women, where there's just this symphony of conversation. And so it's something that I love about Charlotte Mary Yonge, but I know can also be quite overwhelming the first time you're reading it. There is so much coming at you at once, but she wants to really firmly place you in that world and give you a sense of kind of the inside jokes that the family has and the nicknames that characters have, which can also be a little daunting if a character has a nickname in addition to a given name. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's just a really unique to her books, getting to feel like you're a part of the family life. I think also that she is really good at connecting the sacred into tangible. So the characters are very much, you're aware of their spiritual growth. They are aware of themselves as a part of a larger body of faith. And I think also that a thing that's really beautiful and meaningful to me in her books is characters often have to count the cost of character growth. Often the plots of her books are kind of mundane, and I would say the plot is character growth. So if you want characters that they're going to have suffering, and she doesn't romanticize or glamorize the suffering, she shows how hard it can be. If someone says, I want to be less selfish, buckle up, everyone. Good luck. Suffering is hard, and everyone has to go through it. And that's why her books feel so fortifying to me. You see these characters who really can go just extremely low, the depths of despair, as Anne Shirley would put it. But they come out on the other side more resilient, more strong, more kind. And it's just beautiful to behold. And then one last note is that I love how children feel authentic. They can be so endearing and cute, and then another moment they're little hellions. So it feels very authentic to how children are and how they'll butcher different words. And there's just a lot of life and warmth and sentimental kind of qualities. I think some people feel that they can be a bit preachy, but I would say I think she's putting forth, what she's passionate about. Other books have social justice. That's the message that they're passionate about. So to me, it feels kind of the same as anyone else conveying something that they're passionate about.
Right. And if you can't handle, the occasional preachiness in your books, you probably haven't read Victorian novels. So
yes. Yes. And also I think that to contemporary readers, it can feel preachy, but now 50 years from now, someone's going to pick up a book published in 2025 and be like, oh, that's so preachy, because it's a currently accepted idea. It doesn't feel the same way to us.
Right. I was reading some, I was actually reading some of Little Women the other day, and it can feel very moral, moralizing and preachy. But what I think makes a book like that worth reading is, like you were comparing Young to Alcott, is that character growth, and you see them growing. And I love how, each of their voices, when they speak, it's like you can tell who's talking, even if it's not attributed. Just the characterization of the voice was fun. But you just deal with it. You just know that's one of the purposes they had for literature back then, was to teach lessons. And
you accept it for what it is.
Right.
And also, funny you should mention Little Women, because the Heir of Radcliffe is referenced in Little Women. Jo is found crying and eating apples while reading the Heir of Radcliffe.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I remembered that. But now that you say that. So So Charlotte Mary Yonge, um, she writes more, you would say, like character-driven stories necessarily than plot-driven stories.
Yeah, so I will say her novels of family life, I would say, are all very strongly character driven.
Mm-hmm.
She does have historical novels, and those I was very surprised, but pleasantly surprised. They're very plot driven, and so they feel, I would say, more like page turners as
Mm-hmm.
far as Victorian literature goes. And then she also does have some nonfiction. There's a book called The Book of Golden Deeds, which is this collection of anecdotes of noble deeds done by famous figures from history. And she also has a couple of retellings in there. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think, as compared to maybe some more plot driven things, there's still a decent amount of character growth that you see in there.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I have found recently that that's the kind of story I like. It is a more character-driven story. If I like the characters, I don't care if they just sit around and talk all day. I'll really enjoy the story.
Same.
Uh, yeah,
Same. It's
and,
yeah, it just feels like another relationship that you're growing.
right. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to make sure I don't talk too long, but I do. One of the other things we want to make sure to bring up on these videos is, all right, you've sold me Charlotte Mary Yonge. Sounds like an author I'm going to try. Where do I start? Because she's written quite a bit, and that can be overwhelming to look
Yes,
at.
she's written over 100 books, and I do not have the specific number off the top of my head. And Google did not have the answer for me. And also,
Mm,
I will say, I just when I appreciate that you refer to me as a Charlotte Mary Yonge expert, but after attending a couple discussions with the Charlotte Mary Yonge Fellowship, I would say I'm a Charlotte Mary Yonge enthusiast. It is
there you
amazing
go.
just how in and out some of her fans know her just through and through. But so I'm going to recommend 5 books, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I will start. I think the bread and butter that fans when they think of her and when they kind of talk about their favorites, it's going to be her novels of family life. And there are many to choose from. And I am cheating a little bit in that I have 2 that are tied. I I couldn't just pick one.
That's
So
fine.
I'll try to give a
I
quick
cheat all
pitch
the
for
time.
each one. Right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So The Young Stepmother is one that I read at the beginning of the year, and it to me has maybe the tightest plotting as far as her family stories go,
Hmm.
where there are no chapters where you feel it feels kind of stilted. Everything just keeps moving along at this just beautiful, delicious pace. And the young stepmother, the main character, her name is Albinia, not a name you hear very often. And she
Hmm.
marries into this family. Her husband is a widower and he has several children. And she comes to this house. It is cold and lifeless. And she comes and she brings life and vivacity to the household with her effervescent personality. And then eventually she does have her own biological children. And so I think just how there are different layers to the story makes it really intriguing, and to see how kind of being a blended family has its own kind of complications.
Hmm.
And there is some real sadness in there. You do have to be prepared. You might not have every character make it through the entire book with a Charlotte Mary Yonge.
Hmm.
So have the tissues ready. But I found the character of Albinia was what made this book for me. She's become my favorite young character. Seeing she feels so human. She makes mistakes, but she owns up to them and she tries to do better. And just, I feel like the characters want to live life to the fullest and just savor all the possible goodness they can out of it. So that one I have just read once. And The Heir of Radcliffe, I do feel a lot more kind of emotional attachment to. I read it now 3 times and I have sobbed. I have sobbed every single time that I have read it. It
Hmm.
is a story of a extended family, and part of the family line, the family legacy, has been besmirched. And so there's a new young man in the family, Guy Morville, who feels like he wants to reclaim kind of the goodness of the family legacy, and he wants people to think positively of this family, and he wants to turn things around for them. And so his relationship with his cousins and their lives together. And another thing that I didn't mention before, but since her novels are so low key, you kind of have a real time sense as things are unfolding, as the year is going on. Different church holidays are mentioned, different calendar holidays are mentioned, and I love that. It gives you even a kind of more grounded sense within the novel. So yeah, I think for those that like Little Women, for those that like Wives and Daughters, I think either of those would be really, you would enjoy yourself. Right. And then the next one I wanted to recommend is a children's book called Countess Kate. So just think if Anne Shirley all of a sudden found out she was a countess and how she would handle that. And I think that's a pretty good kind of idea for what Countess Kate is like. It's one that I definitely want to read aloud to my boys at some point. I adored the character of Kate, and I loved how it would just be such a hard adjustment to have your life radically turned upside down. She has no interest whatsoever in becoming a countess, and you see this. Also, just a fun random detail about it is the Crystal Palace is featured, and that is that as a concept of architecture just fascinates me from the Victorian era, and so I love that it's featured in there.
Yeah.
Yes. So then the third book is a historical, and it was such a page turner. I could not believe how gripped I was by this. It's called A Chaplet of Pearls, and it is set in Catholic France during the time when there were Huguenots, they were kind of a Protestant French group subset. And the government did not want the Huguenots to exist. So let's put a love story into that where one of the couple is Protestant and one is Catholic, and they become these star-crossed lovers, and they're trying to be with one another. They're trying to get to each other, and I just had to know how it was going to end. So kind of just the tumultuous nature of things in society contrasted with that love story was really captivating to me. And also it felt very different from other things that I had read by her. All right. And the fourth one, and I would say this is just short and sweet, but I love it. And it has really lived in my memory, and one that I very much want to reread. And it's called The Stokesly Secret. And it is almost a novella, and it's another one of family life. And the mother in this family is very ill, and she needs to go see different specialists, different doctors in London. So they leave the children in this family in the stead of the governess. And it is kind of how things go a little bit wonky with the parents, the parental units away. But overall, they come out all right in the end. And there's just a lot of humor, a lot of love, and just she writes characters so well, and they feel so flesh and blood. And then the last one, this one was also read this year for the first time, and that is Love and Life, which is a retelling of Cupid and Psyche. And there's something to me about a retelling that is so satisfying. It's like you kind of come in, you have the general framework of the story, so you don't have to be kind of like, what's happening? Who is this? So you kind of know what you found your footing, you know that, and then you can really just kind of soak in how the author makes the story all their own, and how they have brought their own unique kind of style and motifs that they like to use. And I was really surprised by how well she wrote a villainess in this. I did not, know how it was going to go, but she, to me, she felt like, if you've seen the live action Cinderella, she felt very much like the stepmother in Cinderella. And it was something to behold. So yeah, Love and Life was absolutely thrilling. It's the most of a page turner out of her books that I've read. So yeah, those are kind of, you'll find lots of a range of opinions amongst Jungians as to kind of what are her best books. So, I can't guarantee you that my favorites would be your favorites, but those are all ones that I just love wholeheartedly.
What I like is that she's written a lot, and because some of my favorite Victorian writers didn't write much, and those who did seem to die before their final book is finished. So
Yes, that's for those of you that are really sad. Even though I know Jane Austen is not Victorian, but when you're sad about how few Jane
yeah.
Austen there are, if you're sad about how
Mhm.
few Gaskell there are, really, I think that Charlotte Mary Yonge would be well worth a try.
All right. So if you get through those and you think, all right, this lady, I need to read more. Would you recommend just jumping in chronologically, or pick and choose where you can find them?
Oh,
Or
see,
have you
now
read
if you
enough yet?
are our friend Daryl,
Hmm.
he's a completionist, so he's going to go through chronologically. I have DNF'd a few.
Hmm.
Um, oh, yeah. Well, I will say the Charlotte Mary Young Fellowship website is really helpful and gives you an idea of what the different books are like. Some of them are a bit impossible to track down. There is one that is set um, with the Maccabees.
Mm,
And I just think what a unique kind of location
yeah.
in Israel. I'm so curious what her take is like. But there are many of her books on Project Gutenberg. So yeah, I have been very chaotic in the the way that I've gone about reading through her. I'm just kind of like, I think I'll do that one next.
Yeah. Sometimes, especially for authors not as well known, you kind of have to put up with what you can find and
Yes.
hope for the
Yes.
best. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, with how much keeps being added to Project Gutenberg, I'm still hopeful that more will be added by her in the
Sure.
future.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that to be like, with Trollope. Some of his lesser known books are harder to find,
Yes.
and then or I can find like an audiobook, which I also enjoy listening to and reading along. But sometimes, like on LibriVox, I'm so grateful for what they do, but sometimes the readers are just not the best. And
Sometimes it's rough. So, and
yeah.
especially, I know one that I listened to earlier this year, a few chapters, it had an actual professional narrator. I looked up her name and oh,
Hmm.
wow, no wonder you're amazing. You do this for a living. And so then to have it juxtaposed against people who are not quite as professional, um, very
Yeah.
generously giving their time, but maybe not quite as delightful to listen to, was
Right.
rough.
Right. Um, yeah, and the other thing with like LibriVox, I don't like it when they change narrators like every couple chapters. Even if they're all good, I get used to hearing one voice, and then that's the voice I want to hear, through the rest of the story.
Yes.
And that's just a personal thing I struggle with. But uh,
Yes, yeah. And well, for a la carte August, that I'm doing on Patreon, where people
mhm.
are just going to come with whatever Victorian novel they read. I really wanted to try. There's a book called Mopsa the Fairy, and I think it is kind of a fairy tale. And so I was delighted to find that the LibriVox, it's all the same narrator.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So all that to say, there are a lot of options out there. You don't have to break the bank and find a first edition, whatever. Um, you know, we as bookworms, we are living in a great time where we have all these resources. A lot of them are free. So I always appreciate that. And
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. So, all right. Well, that's Charlotte Mary Young. I keep wanting to call her Mary Charlotte Young or flip the names around. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
uh, so I'm am planning this year for Victober. I haven't at the time of the recording. I haven't made a lot of plans, but I am planning to read a Mary Charlotte Young or Charlotte Mary Young. See, I did it.
And
I'm going to
Art,
read
I
one.
cannot wait. You will have to tell me which one you end up picking.
Right, I will. I will, and hopefully I'll enjoy it. I'll probably talk about it at least a little bit on my channel. But But yeah, I partly selfishly, I kind of wanted you on to talk about her because, like I was saying, there's so many books. Where do I start? Do I go with the Heir of Radcliffe, or is there something else? And so, yeah, definitely help me narrow it down here, which it can be helpful when I'm trying to make a choice. So,
Excellent. I'm so glad to hear it. And
yeah.
I am filled with endless enthusiasm when I talk about her writing.
Yeah, I can tell. I love hearing you and others in your group that talk about her. I love hearing people talk about things they're excited about. Even if I'm not interested, I just enjoy listening to their excitement and passion. So, but yeah, I've been curious about her for a while now, and I need to restock my Victorian bookshelf. So I think I'll do that.
Excellent.
uh,
Excellent.
all right. Well, Kate, anything you want to plug on your channel or anything before we go?
Yeah, just lots of Victober fun happening this month. Art is a guest on my channel. I did a series that once I started doing it, I could not stop, where I ask a very mean question to readers, and that is if they were stranded on a deserted island and could only pick five pieces of Victorian literature, what would they pick? And it has been so much fun hearing people's answers.
Yeah, that was hard. Even after we got done, I'm like, oh, I should have said this, or I could have said that, or maybe get one of those omnibus books from like Barnes and Noble that has like five Dickens novels in it. I'll take that one. That's one.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, Kate, thanks for coming on and sharing about Young with us. And I'm hoping to do these about once a week through October. So by the end of Victober, we should have maybe four or five new authors to look at in more detail. So thanks for coming on, Kate, and happy Victober to you.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy Victober to everyone watching.